celibate.
You know how Christians are. We all been there.
We're going to be celibate.
Yeah.
Now. Ain't nobody going to know you ever had sex.
Who the daddy? If you got pregnant before we were married, I'm pretty sure I would have saw a ghost.
They was like, how'd you stay married for so long? She was like, I give them head. I can always tell, like, when we aren't having sex frequently enough, something needs to just be released. Let's go have sex.
What's the deal, family? Welcome back to another SOS podcast. I am Cameron. This is my beautiful wife, Erin.
Hello.
This is officially season number 2.
Even though we never said that the last episode was a season finale, but we won't go there.
Yeah, life. What's going on, babe? How you feeling?
I feel good. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been like, I don't know, over
I think
like
a month and a half.
Yeah. So here we are.
We're back.
We are back and life is good. We had a couple trips. Well, no, we had one trip since the last episode.
No, I think 2. Maybe it's been 2 months then.
No.
We recorded at the Palm Springs?
Yeah.
Okay.
We recorded after that. So we went to Miami for a wedding. Easter was in Miami.
Yeah, Easter was in Miami.
And it was fun. This was the first trip with the grandparents, so we got to kind of hang out a little bit more than we.
This is the first trip with the grandparents came to watch River.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we really maximized that.
We were able to do what we needed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And now we're just kind of getting back into the swing of things. I feel like whenever we come back from a trip, it's kind of like a momentum needs to be regained type of thing. But
it's like all these moving parts.
Yeah. So we're good though. How are you?
I'm good. Chilling.
What are we sipping on?
This is a red blend from the collection. It's from California. So cheers.
Cheers.
2017 for any of the pros out there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's been sitting in our little wine collector thing.
Yeah.
For a little minute.
Yeah.
So I said, why not?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was supposed to think of a this or that.
Uh-oh. You're a little rusty. We rusty. It's okay.
So, this or that. We go out of town and you forget your toothbrush or your washcloth. And you have to share one of them with me for an entire week.
Okay.
Which one would you rather share with me for the whole week? Your toothbrush, my toothbrush, or my washcloth?
Well, for one, we go out of town. Like, are we not by stores?
Babe, that's not, you can't ask that. This is just the reality of what the situation is.
So you can't
you cannot get it from the store. You have to use mine.
And to be clear, we use a different washcloth every time we clean up. So
right.
Is there just one washcloth?
One washcloth.
You never change this out ever. The whole week.
It's just, babe, you can't ask all these questions.
These are real questions.
It's what we have to share a washcloth for the whole week. Or we have to share a toothbrush for the whole week.
It don't matter. I mean, I'd be all up in you anyway, so like I guess we just be sharing.
Which one?
I'ma go toothbrush.
Toothbrush?
Yeah, because I can just rinse that off, I guess.
It's something about sharing a toothbrush that just feels so ugh to me.
Yeah, but like I'd rather not use the same washcloth for a week straight when I use a different one every single time per day.
I know.
I'm gonna rinse off with some hot water on that toothbrush and use it.
Okay. I'm not mad at the toothbrush.
But you're going washcloth.
I mean, I personally would probably do either or. Whichever
That's what I'm saying.
one.
Doesn't like there's nothing that I haven't seen or done. So I mean,
okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. I guess I would go toothbrush.
Okay.
Toothbrush
Why?
just seems so ugh. Because it's just like all up in your mouth.
You be all up in my mouth.
I know, but it's just like food and grime and plaque and.
But I feel like if you're a dirty eater, maybe that works. But like if I see food coming out of you, that's I've never seen you eat so trifling that you have like.
Or if I had like an onion burger or something, and
can
it
you
was just
actually
like,
taste that on the toothbrush bristle?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Okay. So what are we talking about today?
Speaking of you be all in my mouth and amongst other things.
Oh my gosh. Cameron said we're going strong season 2.
Season 2. I think some people have wanted us to talk about this, so why not now?
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about sex.
Okay.
It can be our sex life because I don't like generalizations. We can, I don't know, maybe go from where we started, how we, I guess, get things cracking or whatever the case may be. But just like sex as Christians, you know?
Yeah.
And this is not about to be a preaching session or anything like that. It's just like we're Christians.
Yeah.
And grew up a certain way. We had some, I guess, perceptions of what sex meant.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
we've had to overcome. I would say we've had to overcome, I guess, what our sexual intimacy looks like for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
What are your I guess why would you say sex is often treated as taboo in the Christian communities?
Well, I think it's a lot of things. Particularly with women. I feel like we're supposed to be the purest, and like there's been so many purity movements for girls and women, and it's just like this idea that it's almost like you're taught to just not even desire sex, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're taught to basically, like, if you think about it, if you desire it, especially if you're not married, like it's almost like you're condemned or you're going to go to hell just because you feel or think about things that are natural. And there's just so much guilt around sex. So then it's like you get married, and as soon as you get married, then everyone's like, okay, when are you having babies? You know, like buying you lingerie for your bachelorette, and like, you know, trying to suddenly now make jokes about, you know, your honeymoon and all of the things. And it's just it's such a hard shift that when you have grown up for whatever reason, whether it's pressure from parents or pressure from church to just not have sex, it's the forbidden thing to do. And then you suddenly, you know, are in a serious relationship or are married, and now it's a thing, you know, that you're supposed to do. It's a very difficult like shift to navigate, and we experienced that, you know. I mean, we didn't wait until marriage. Newsflash.
Is it? I don't know. Have you said that before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think we talked about it when we talked about sex when we were having the podcast in the other space in your office. But yeah, we didn't wait until marriage. It was actually something that I wanted to do. I think it was just, I don't know. It was like I waited so long that it was like, well, I might as well just, keep waiting. And I think to some extent it was a part of my identity. It was like a badge of honor at a certain point. Like, oh, I still haven't had sex. Like, I'm waiting for my husband. I'm waiting till marriage, which I did wait for my husband because, you know, we ended up getting married. But I think it just kind of was a guilty thing. Like, I was like, am I going to go to hell if I have sex before I get married? Like, what are people going to think of me? Like, I don't want people to perceive me in a certain way. Yeah. I don't, and then there's like, how will God think of me? And just all of these different things. And I think that's a big reason, like, why it's taboo in church. For one, a lot of churches don't value marriage in a way that I think it should be valued. Thankfully, we go to a church now that, like, marriage, he even said today, like, marriage is like the foundation of building healthy communities. But like, I don't know, I just think it's not talked about enough. Candidly, it's always kind of like this beat around the bush, like you only talk about it if you're married, and it's like the forbidden thing to talk about.
It's like only like amongst yourselves, like it's still like you're whispering around other people, like even at
Exactly.
the church with people. Oh, we're
Who
gonna
are
have
married.
a marriage conference or a marriage meeting about blah blah blah, or all these couples like, but no one talks about anything
Yeah.
real. So why are we having these conferences, or
Yeah.
why are we getting together if no one wants to talk about what's actually going on? Like,
Exactly.
come on now.
Exactly.
Um,
So what do you think?
why is it taboo?
Yeah.
Uh, honestly, I would say just church leadership, parenting. And I honestly would just keep it there.
Mhm.
It starts there, I would say. You grow up in the church, and I think there's a lot of common scripture that are kind of fed to you that has a perception of course, sinning, but it's just like it feels like it's forever a sin, and it's not
Mm.
broken down in a way when you're being taught. Just say as a kid and coming up, you're just it's like no,
Yeah.
like everything is just like no. There's no breakdown to it, and then anytime you talk about it biblically, it's like led to a sin. So it's just like wait, like you said, once you do get a husband and all that, now it's like oh wait, when are you having kids? When are you doing one, two,
Yeah.
and three? So it's just like why are we missing out these big gaps to understanding what sex actually is
Right.
versus it's just no, don't do it
Yeah.
until you get married. But
Exactly.
then what is marriage? Because I've seen so many failed marriages in the church.
Yeah.
I've seen so many adulterers in church probably because they're failing from an intimacy point of view in their relationship. Like
Mhm.
we see that stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. I think it's taboo because we simply don't have healthy conversations about it within
Mhm.
the church or within our homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do
It's
you
just whispering chatters.
what do you think those healthy conversations sound like?
uh, I think well, what sounds good is inviting God into it, right? You can pray about it. Um, of course, right? That's
It's like a given.
that's the given,
Yeah.
right? But you kind of got to
And
say
that's
it.
the churchy
Yeah, that's
way
the
to
churchy
say
way.
it.
Now that I got the churchy way out of there, uh, I would probably say first, I guess creating a judgment free zone. I think when you're for us for example, actually I'm only talking about this. I don't really care what anyone else's
Yeah.
sex life is like, but um I would say starting off by just when you become like best friends, really good friends, you get comfortable with having healthy conversations in general. So I think the judgment free zone from everything opens up an inviting, or it's like an invitation to a healthy conversation about sex. And in
Right.
fact, I think that it'll come up naturally. Like I feel like if you really vibing, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the action way or just the
Conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that I would probably say being able to revisit the conversations because I would say like when we were younger, I think we will start with them, but I think we had to find some understanding individually and then come back to the table and
Yeah.
maybe say, oh, maybe I thought this and then I read this. Like, what you think about this type of it's kind of like what do you think about this? And
Mhm.
kind of taking out like you don't do one, two, and three, or blah blah blah. It's kind of like I feel this way, and then you will say I feel this way type of thing. So I
Mhm.
don't know. I would say though that type of direction,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, but yeah,
I yeah, I don't know. I feel like I definitely struggled when we were first like sexually active. Just because I don't know, I was just so nervous. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know like what to do." I don't and it wasn't even like you were pressuring me. I think it was just like,
I never said anything about
yeah, we just
it.
never yeah,
We
we just
never talked. I think
never
too.
really I
I
mean, we were like toying around, you know? It wasn't like
Yeah.
we were just like
Anytime we like did anything, there was like no conversation. It was just kind of like
it was just where the energy carried us
yeah.
to.
But
Um,
then we got grown and
yeah.
Aaron was living in DC and
Yeah.
I was there literally every few weeks.
Yeah.
And honestly, one thing just kind of led to another. Um, and for Aaron, which you can share after that time.
Oh my god,
But
I was so freaked out. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm pregnant."
yo, that's
Oh
another
my
thing.
gosh.
But I think it definitely happened pretty organically, and I would say that only because we just really never talked about it. But then it just it it felt right. It just
Yeah.
like boom, you
Mhm.
know. Um, and I would say in the moment I'm hyped. Like I'm like, let's go. But then at the same time, it's like, wait, it's not even what I was expecting it to be.
Right.
Um, I guess number two. And then because of that, we then had the conversations like, wait, was this, you know,
Yeah.
type of thing? And I think the conversations open it up to actually make it good. But then
Mhm.
also I think it did take some time before we were like, oh yeah. And then we had the whole, you know how Christians are, we all been there. Ah, no, we not good.
Yeah.
We can
We're gonna be celibate
yeah,
now.
after you do, but after you get active,
It's so much
I
harder to
promise you,
stop. Yeah.
I promise you, it is no,
That's
because
why I think it's important to only have sex with people with someone that you are deeply, deeply like you deeply care
and
about
that's what I was saying after
because
that first time because it's not what I expected. We already had a foundation,
right.
and I think the unexpected was just simply because neither of us really knew what the heck we were doing.
Mhm.
Um, and that was like basically the first conversation.
Yeah.
And those were like it was kind of like learning steps. But all within that, I feel like you experienced more of the worst part of it all.
Yeah.
um, so I guess you can expound on that.
Yeah, well, for
Yeah.
me, it was like such a big part of my identity. Like being this virgin, like I went all through college. So many guys were trying to like take my virginity. And I was just like, no, like I stood on business, okay? I was like, none of y'all little stanky little boys are getting a piece of me. And so once we did have sex, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that part of my identity is gone, babe. And it was really tough for me
Yeah.
to kind of grapple with because on one end I felt like I kind of failed because I didn't wait.
Right.
And it was like I waited this long and it really didn't have anything to do with you. It wasn't like I
No,
was
I
like,
know. Yeah.
"Ugh, I'm so mad I had sex with him." It was more of like, couldn't I just have like waited a little longer? But then on the flip side, I'm like, well, I actually didn't really like I won't say I didn't want to wait, but it just felt right. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like this weird feeling that I was experiencing, which I eventually got over. And I don't know. I think for us, we definitely tried to be celibate after the fact. And it was like the intention was there, but after, I mean, we were like, we're gonna be together, we want to get married, like we want to, like we just knew we were it. And for me, that was a big thing for me. Like
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have continued. I probably wouldn't have had sex with you in the first place if I didn't think you were going to be my husband. But I also wouldn't have continued to have sex if I thought that our relationship wasn't going in the right direction.
Right.
I feel like sex is such a powerful thing, and I think some people do weaponize it, but I think it's also like it's a power thing. Like if you give it up too fast, like you no longer have as much power as you probably would have. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I just think, especially for women in a relationship, I just I don't take sex lightly. Like that's just my opinion. So, yeah, it was difficult. And then when we got married, that was a whole nother thing because like there is this expectation that okay, like we're gonna be having sex nonstop. Like we're newlyweds, we got
Right.
into this new house, and sometimes like it just didn't happen like that for well, in the beginning it was, but like after a while it kind of just like wasn't that anymore.
Yeah.
And it became a thing, like, for us, like, that was a conversation that we have had to have, like, multiple times, and
Yeah,
and sex is still something that comes up in our marriage because there are so many transitions, we go through so many different phases. I was pregnant, then I
just
had
had a baby.
postpartum, and then it was just so many different changes to my body that caused me to feel just sometimes just not up for it, like,
Yeah,
and that was a difficult thing to communicate for me, and then also a difficult thing for you to, like, bring up,
yeah,
so it has just been an overall, like, conversation throughout our marriage that I think will probably never stop. I think there's always going to be a way for us I think it's healthy for us to constantly be trying to figure out how to improve our sex life and just
right.
intimacy in general.
Yeah. I think going back for like all before all the pregnancy and stuff like that, and talking about like the church, right?
Mhm.
I think that yeah, in the beginning it was like rabbits for sure. For sure. But I think quickly for Aaron, I think I would say you kind of reverted
Mhm.
back to what you had been taught. And honestly, what you've been taught and what I've been taught is just no. So I think it's sunk back in more for you
Mhm.
that I'm not supposed to be doing this, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I
I think
think
it was subconscious though, cuz
no,
like
that's
I
what I'm
never
saying.
really had this moment where I'm like, I
Yeah,
shouldn't be
yeah, I think it was
doing this.
subconscious.
Yeah.
And I think it's too like a confidence thing. I think
Mhm.
it's and I say that because like for guys, or I would say for me, I'm like, hey, I don't care what you got to say. I don't. It ain't no more rules. Ain't no more no. Like, especially once you get a taste of something, like,
Right.
you ever had some ice cream, I guess you want to say, and you can't get away from the ice cream?
Right.
Yeah. That's what that's like,
Yeah.
or whatever your favorite treat is, whatever, your guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, I would say is that. And when we did say I do, to me, I'm like, oh yeah, like
Mhm.
all bets are off, you know. And I think a lot of men think that way. Now I would say, luckily for Aaron, I'm always gonna be the same me, respectful. I'm gonna point out why I think certain things are happening, and then it does make it a little bit easier for you to be like, I mean, yeah, of course, right? And some of the bigger things is, and when we talk about parenting, it's just like I never had a conversation with my dad. My dad never had a conversation with me. There were times where a conversation could have been had for learning moments, teaching moments, whatever the case may be. But those moments are never expounded on, or they're
Mhm.
never like taken advantage of.
Right.
At least, and for sure in my particular position, and I would say yours. Um, I think there's just this thing where you grow up in the church and your home is in the church and all those things where that's just one thing you for sure not about to you I can you can get away with some other things, but you bet not do that. And then the main thing is like, don't bring no babies into my house. And honestly, both of us thought that if you had sex you can get pregnant,
Right. I mean,
literally.
you
Like,
can.
I mean, yes, but like there's like what, a 4-day window out of 30 days in a month,
Yeah,
like
like we didn't realize that there was a specific time
time.
frame that you
Yeah.
can get
And it's
pregnant
even
in.
crazier that she didn't know that, because I feel like obviously as a woman who has a cycle, like you taught me that.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking that shoot, you hunched, then
Yeah.
there's a possibility. Like you
Right.
probably getting pregnant. And then also not even knowing that how hard it is to get pregnant. Like
Mhm.
all these different things that does come from understanding what sex is,
Mhm.
you know? Not even just the action or the moment. It's just like all the other things that come from it.
Yeah.
None of those things are taught.
Yeah.
So like even having to like learn those things on our own but together, I guess it's helpful, but it would have been better had we been taught those things maybe in the church and in our homes and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think that would make all the difference and honestly make some better decisions. For me, I just simply wasn't having sex because I thought you can get pregnant, and the girls were a lot of girls were really easy. So
Mhm.
I never was in a position. I can't say that if I was in a position that I wouldn't. And I had to explain that to Aaron, but honestly, I just wasn't in a position.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't bringing no girls home, so I didn't have my own place until this house. So like it's not like I had the easiest route to just bringing girls home. I was really chill with that. And
Yeah.
for a portion of that time where I even started to think about it, I honestly was just busy.
Yeah.
Thank God. Um, but we always joke because had I gone to college like with Aaron, I don't think we would have been married.
Probably not.
uh,
I was just gonna say I would have appreciated a conversation that not necessarily. I don't think I necessarily needed a. Okay, so this is how sex works.
right.
You put the this into that,
Right.
like. But I would have appreciated like a conversation about, you know, maybe when my mom did lose her virginity or what
What to expect.
what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, your first time or just like what sex means from more of a deeper perspective outside of just like physical pleasure.
Right.
Like so much of sex that we see on TV and movies and all of that is just like, oh, it feels good. But like
It looks fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's so like it's more raunchy and sexualized and like
Than what
it's
it really is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, but what about two people who are deeply in love? Like, what does sex actually like mean
Right.
for that type of relationship?
Right.
And
Not just like a one night
yeah,
stand
it's like
or
it is a spiritual experience.
yeah.
It is very deep and like sacred and it's worship for, all of the
All the
Christians.
church folk out there. There's some
But
good
it
worship
is.
right
It's a
there.
form of worship and I think, you have sex and it's glorifying God when it's done the
Mhm.
right way. And I think we should lean more into teaching it in that
From that
way,
perspective.
from that perspective, so that, you know, it is something so esteemed that you don't want to just waste it on anybody.
Okay.
Like, it's not just something you just give away.
Yeah.
And to me, when it's kind of like the same allure as like drinking alcohol when you're like 18 and you're like, oh, I can't wait to go to college so I can have my first drink or like whatever
Right.
in high school or
Yeah.
whatever. Because you don't have it. But like whenever you see it, like if you see it around like your parents or you go to a bar and everyone's taking shots and it looks so fun and you
Yeah.
got the bubblies in the drink and all of the things. And it's like, you are like, that seems so cool,
Exactly. You're like, how can something seem that's been told to me seem so bad
But
when I'm
it
looking on
always
TV,
seems
I'm
like it's
looking at
such a
people
good
down the
thing. Yeah,
street. Like they're looking like they're having the time of their lives
exactly.
doing these things.
Yeah,
Why am I not doing those things? Like,
exactly. But I think that's why it needs to be taught from a different perspective
yeah.
because it is a good thing. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, I can't necessarily say drinking alcohol is a good thing. Like,
Right.
from whatever way you split it, it's actually not
It's
a
not
good thing. But sex is, like,
yeah.
and
And it absolutely feels good. All those things.
yeah,
Yeah.
but especially for women, I think that it's a lot like for women in the church there's so much shame around sex and
Right.
like especially because the woman is the one who ends up being pregnant and like it all seems to slam onto the woman.
Right.
And the guy is kind of like ain't nobody gonna know you ever had sex, because like there's
Like,
no
who the daddy?
yeah, it's like there's no I don't want to say consequence, but there's no signs that
Right. But I
So
think that there is though. They're just not they're not in the form of like physical. Right. And I guess there's a thing where I guess the guy doesn't have to show up or whatever, but I can only speak for myself and in those moments I would say that would shake me to my core.
mhm.
On and not because you get pregnant, but just because there's no understanding around again what we've already explained what those things mean.
Mhm.
Um and sometimes I think a little understanding can go a long way.
For
Literally, a
sure.
little understanding can go a long way.
Yeah.
And I mean, now we have a kid, um, and thank God on the first try, or I guess it wasn't even a try, but
Oh my
for
gosh.
real, for real, like it's seriously a blessing.
Yeah.
Um, before I don't think I would have been able to say like this is a blessing. I know all the church folks say, you get pregnant, such a blessing. Nah, it actually is a blessing. I will say when done right.
Mhm.
And not to say that a child is not a blessing, but from an understanding point of view for myself, when you got pregnant, I didn't feel like a deep. I didn't feel like my body empty.
Yeah.
Versus like if you got pregnant, I don't know, before we were married, I'm pretty sure I would have saw a ghost.
Yeah.
You know, um, and it's just like you said, it's kind of like is you find the glory in your sexual relationship with your spouse.
Mhm.
And that I think that does make all the difference. But the journey that we've had to go on to get to that is one, it's an ongoing journey, but
Mhm.
two, I think that just like anything else, we're held back, right? And a lot of things we could have avoided if the church, if our homes, our parents, and all those things helped in those areas, right? I feel
Mhm.
like it shouldn't be like this thing. Like we still go around people, and it's just like sex is like this weird thing to talk about,
Mhm.
but then you're doing it.
Right.
So I personally don't understand that.
Yeah.
Still today,
And it's
like
it's it's interesting to me too because like even in church, it's like I saw this video of this marriage conference or something, and this old lady was like, um, they was like, "How'd you stay married for so long?" She was like, "I give them head," so or something she said like that, and everybody at the conference was like, like, and she was like, "I don't know what y'all looking at me like that for." Basically, like,
right,
what do you mean we're married here?
right,
Like, and I think that it's very healthy to like I mean, obviously I do think that there is some level of like sacredness that you share with your spouse. Like you don't have to go around saying everything that you
nah,
do and like sharing your sex life and what y'all got going on with everybody. But I do think that like when it comes to those conversations being opened, I don't think that, like, you should be at a marriage conference and be afraid to say, like, "We have great sex," like,
right,
however frequently or, like, whatever is working, like, I think that that's something that's on the
yeah,
table because if you're not having good sex in your marriage, like, that's an issue, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
or
Like
not enough.
yeah, or
And
not
that's the
enough.
thing though, like I told you, and before we got married, I asked Aaron so many questions around this because I was around some men who weren't having sex
Yeah.
and they felt abandoned by their wives, but also they had no accountability on their own end.
Mhm.
So like that also was another set of conversations that we had surrounding like, well, what would this look like for us? Right.
Yeah.
We get married and then it's just like, well, how you think this gonna look? Like,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on this, right?
Exactly.
Um,
But it's
which
so
help shape what we
the
have.
expectations that we
Yeah,
have
you know what I'm
now.
saying?
And I think it's so interesting because you can literally look at couples and be like, yeah, they
Yeah,
have great sex. Like I can
yeah,
tell that they just have that
they
like
got that thing.
sexual chemistry. Like, yeah, and
Yeah,
I think that that's so cool. Like I love seeing couples where they just seem like, and it's not like you're overly lovey-dovey or
you
like you're
just
just
see it.
like
It's just like
yeah,
a
there's just like a chemistry. Like
yeah,
there's
like they
some type
work.
of magnetic vibe
Yeah,
that comes across when you have a great sex life because to me that's like such a big indicator of just being connected with each other. I
hmm
can always tell like when we aren't having sex frequently enough because like we just seem off. Like
for
it's just
sure.
like the vibe is just off. The air isn't all the way clear. Like it
I
just
think
seems like
yeah,
something needs to just be released.
yeah,
Like it just feels like kind of
yeah.
clouded. I don't know
I
how to
think
explain it, but
like I was going back to what I was
yeah.
saying, like subconsciously you will fall into those moments where you're not even thinking about it. And I do remind Aaron, I'm like,
Yeah.
well, more of your life than not, you've been in the mindset where you're not thinking that. Me?
Mhm.
Nah, I ain't got no problems thinking that. And sometimes I'm like, dog, I don't feel like I don't want to. I want her to kind of
initiate.
initiate that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I'm
Um,
typically the problem.
nah,
That's what he's trying to
don't
say.
get it twisted. It's great and it's often, but there have been times
Yeah.
where I'm like, yo,
Yeah. He's
I'm
like,
like, I be
I
feeling,
want you so badly. What's going
yeah,
on?
like, what are you doing? Do you know? Am I the issue? But for real, it's just like those have been moments,
Yeah.
you know,
And
and
it's
I'm
real.
just like,
I think that
yeah,
that's very natural. Like,
yeah,
I think it's very natural. I honestly think it's more
it's more
unnatural for
common,
like a woman to just be like swinging from the chandeliers nonstop. Like,
yeah.
which I'm like, Lord, please bless me with that because I want
But
that.
I think too though, like I would say I don't think that women don't. I think it's just like I said, it goes back to you're so guarded with the
Yeah.
no,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't open yourself up to the just a simple thought during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm getting work done during the day, but several moments in each day, I'm like, you know, should I go down and sit there, you know? And I do sometimes, but like,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you, it's
Like
not
there's
about
no
to,
rules.
yeah, it's not about to
Yeah.
stop you from your productivity,
Yeah.
or like doing something throughout the day. Cause I will do something sometimes, and I'm like, baby, nowadays, baby sleep.
Come on, babe.
We're not sitting downstairs on this couch all night.
Yeah,
um,
but I also think it's like I honestly think it's important to do that
yeah,
because like by the end of the day, it's so much more difficult for me to just even feel like it. Like it's like mentally I want to, but then physically I'm just so tired that it almost would behoove us to just like find moments throughout the day in that way because I actually saw something on Instagram and it was like the absolute, like all these psychologists and like people on Instagram giving all this advice. She's like, the absolute worst thing you can do for your sex life is to wait until the end of the day when you get in bed and have sex. And she was like, you're just so checked out by then. You're thinking, how much did I get done? What didn't I do? I'm so tired. What do I have to do tomorrow? And like all of these things. And I'm like, it is true though. Like I wouldn't say
yeah.
it's the absolute worst thing you can do, but like,
It's definitely not the worst.
but I do think that like, especially when you have a kid, like you just kind of gotta like
Yeah,
find
I
the
think,
time.
but I will say even to that, while I do think there's truth in that. I think also you got to realize what we see on TV. When you see things on TV, like
Mm-hmm.
sex on TV,
It's
you
always at
can't help
night.
what you're consuming.
Exactly.
It can be a movie, it can be a rom com or whatever you see that has like sex or whatever. It's always dark.
Yeah.
So
And
like
it's
you're
just like,
not.
why is that though?
I don't know. That's another conversation.
It's kind of
For
like,
another day.
why do
But
you need to have the rules of like doing it in this, like performing this behavior
at this
at this
time,
time?
right?
It's kind of like, who said we have to eat eggs in the morning? Like, you literally
Right.
can eat eggs
Any time of the day.
at 9 p.m.
But I'm not doing that.
I'm just saying, like, psychologically, you
But those
have,
are the rules. It's
you
just like
have like,
breakfast.
yeah.
Breakfast shouldn't be at dinner, and I guess dinner shouldn't be at breakfast.
Yeah, but
there are
why?
some people who eat steak in the morning.
Yeah,
Steak
and why do
eggs
we
or
eat like a syrupy waffle and
to start the day.
pancakes to start the day when that's
Yeah.
like dessert? Like why?
Yeah, I don't know.
It literally makes no sense. So it's just like, why do we subject ourselves to these
Yeah.
rules?
Yeah. It's kind of like to that point, make your own rules up
Yeah.
in your marriage. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think having the conversations do not hurt. I think in fact that
No.
if you can have that conversation, you probably can have any conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. That's the moral of the story. I will say you can leave them off with this. What would be your one way that you've come to know of how you've overcome the guilt and shame around sex?
I mean,
Or have you?
I definitely have.
Okay.
I think I'm still working on like the confidence of just like doing things out of the box, Like, I mean, nothing like so crazy. But, just like
What happened in your bedroom, stay in your bedroom.
no, I'm saying like not anything crazy like a threesome or anything
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
that's
Like
wild.
that's absolutely
But
out
that's
of
some
the
people's
that's
situation,
not
though.
our
That
situation.
ain't our I'm just saying that is some people's ministry.
Not ministry.
Crazy
I
ministry,
don't think
but
the Lord
I don't think he
would approve
approves.
that. I would say that, I mean, honestly, a lot of prayer. I think that is something that is easily something you could go to God about, especially when you're married and like you are trying to open yourself up more to your spouse. Like, I think that's something that you can lean on the Lord for, and that is definitely something that I did. Um, I think just honestly, I think the more experience in sex we have had helped me become more confident in having sex.
You hear that? The more, the better.
Because honestly, it's just like anything else. It's like you love the person, but I do think there is like a level of skill to sex. Like
Nah, yeah.
you can be good at sex and not good at sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're first like trying to learn each other's bodies, I think it can be like a little bit daunting to even initiate sex. But now that like I know you,
Where you're comfortable, you get
yeah, you're
comfortable.
more comfortable with each
Yeah.
other and like you I don't know, I feel like our love just keeps growing. So
Yeah.
then the sex keeps getting better and like I think all of it kind of helps to overcome any shame and guilt and just like I don't know, I don't believe that God would want me to feel shameful about being sexual with my husband. So like that's just not a part of his
I
word and
mean,
what he
simply,
wants for me.
you couldn't be fruitful and multiply if you
Yeah,
had
if
shame.
you have shame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and honestly that makes the sex worse. So like
like,
constantly
ooh.
overthinking and being like
Yeah.
feeling shameful about it, it just doesn't help. So yeah, I would say that. And honestly, like even before we got married, because I feel like that's really the more important part is like because I had sex before marriage, it was like, I don't know if I ever really got over the shame of that before we got married. Like I
Yeah.
feel like every time we had sex before we were married, it was like a little piece of me was like, dang it.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, after a while, I started to be like, dang it too.
Yeah.
After I got my I'm like, shoot, all right, we did
So
this a
I
few
I
times. Like,
genuinely don't know if I ever felt any better
but the
about
thing
it
is,
until we got married.
it's funny because no one knows.
No one knows what.
Like, no one knew.
What do you mean?
No, like only we knew that we were having sex. I
Oh,
mean, unless I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
so really, like, it is the true relationship that you do have with God. Like, that is a
Mhm.
real thing. So that's what we more so felt shamed about and scared about. It's
Mhm.
more of like disappointing him. Um, but like realistically, I feel like again, we were born into sin. That's number one. Like I
Right.
feel like we tend to forget that as Christians. Like we 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 have tendencies that are false to make us think
Mhm.
that we are perfect, and also because we don't share enough in the church, we are shameful. Like we feel like we're the only ones who are going through these things.
Mhm.
And I think those are conversations that will provide comfort within the people who aren't married yet, who haven't had sex yet. It's kind of providing context behind um sex. Like, I don't know,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
It's just like, why would I not share my experience because that can help the next person from a Christian point of view? And I'm not trying, like, I'm not about to preach to you. I'm just about to give it to you 100. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But
Like, I am
yeah.
a Christian. I had sex before marriage. I had these thoughts. You're probably having them too. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
And the Lord is still good.
and and he's
But I was going to say I think it's just to kind of this is my last thought.
yeah.
But I do think it's interesting how much more shame is put on Christians about sex than like other things. Like we don't put the same pressure on like eating terribly or like,
Right.
I don't know,
Bad
like
money
cheating on a
habits.
test or bad money habits or
Yeah.
like, I don't know, bullying
Right.
or I'm like literally so many
There's so
other
many different
things
things.
that can make like that are not pleasing to the Lord.
Yeah.
And like sex is just like the
That big
thing
thing.
that like parents and just the church is just like
And are in shambles about.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that
But it's like it's like, have you not done it? Like y'all
yeah.
act like y'all act like y'all were never young. Two, you act like I guess hopefully you're still doing that. But you know what I'm saying? You're acting like this thing does not exist in your world.
And the thing that I forgot to say is that I think that there was this very toxic like rhetoric that if you don't have sex, then you find your Boaz. Like that was literally that was literally like the Pinky Promise era, like all of the like church purity movement things that like that messaging was just so shoved down so many women's throats that it's like if you don't do this then you get that. Like obviously we want to be pleasing to the Lord and we want to do what glorifies him and all
Yeah.
of the things. However, it's like to me I just don't necessarily like the like you have to do this in order to get that. Like
Right.
you're basically you're acting like God in saying that because it's like I know people who literally didn't kiss until they got married and they got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who had sex before they got married and they've been married for 30,
Forever.
40, 50, 70 years.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't like just condemn people and like kind of fear force them into doing or
Right.
not doing something. To me, if you make the decision to not have sex before marriage, that is something between you and God
Mm-hmm.
and like whoever you're with,
Yeah.
if they gonna go on that journey with you.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's not necessarily okay to like shove this down people's throats and like have so many women so fearful about sex and
Yeah.
that bleeds into their marriage and that bleeds into so many other things in our lives that now you kind of got to like rewire how you even think about sex.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's just healthier to let people like understand sex for themselves, like read the word, understand it for yourself, have your own relationship with God.
Amongst other things within the Bible,
Yeah.
like try to understand it for yourself.
Yeah, ask questions.
Get
Like I
clarity.
wish I asked my mom more questions when I was younger, Like
Yeah.
I wish I, just was more curious
But
about it,
even
but it's
I would ask because I would say for me, I would I don't think I could ask questions because I don't think it was an inviting. There
yeah,
was no
that's true.
invitation to ask a
Yeah,
question.
it's
Like
kind of
I
like
had questions,
as a
but like
parent too, you're kind of like, "Ugh, I don't even I don't
you know what
there's
I'm
no
saying.
right time for me to just tell my daughter when I lost my virginity."
But it
Cuz a
may
lot of
not be
times
that. You may lead up to that to some
yeah,
point, but like
exactly.
there's no invitation to even have
Those type of
to just
open
simply say what's sex,
yeah.
right? So like, what's the answer to that?
Yeah.
Um, and then just simply lying. Some kids be thinking that sex is like, or some things are certain things
Yeah,
that
they're
they're
like the
not up until
stork
like
brought my
wait,
baby sister.
or the babies come through the belly button or something like that.
Yeah. And that's why there's
But
this one influencer, Kier Gaines, who his daughter, like, she's like, so my friends at school told me, like, this is how babies come. Like, is this right? And he'll be like, girl, no. Like, like, now don't go telling your little friends what I'm about to tell you. But, like, and I think that that's really, like, once kids are asking questions, that means that they are already aware
of
of
what's
what
going
it
on, or
is.
the
Yeah, to
topic.
some extent.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to just tell them honestly because that honesty builds on itself and it literally can, oh my gosh, it's like it
It can go a long way.
transpires so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can go a long way, and even to that point with what's his name,
Kier Gaines.
Kiera Gaines. Like even to that point, I think it's crazy that he has to tell her not to go back because like who he know the world would blow up if they knew the truth.
But also like you don't want your kids telling other kids things. Like I
Yeah,
think
but they're telling her
It's
things.
kind of like when kids don't believe in Santa and then their parents are
Right.
like, don't go telling your friends that Santa ain't real.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, but like they're telling. It's funny you have to say that when you're a parent that tells the truth. It's funny you have to tell your kid not to go tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like that's so crazy to me because she asked the questions based on what she's hearing.
Exactly.
She's being told something,
Exactly.
right? But needless to say, I think I would prefer my kid to learn at home versus learn in the world.
I agree.
Because he or she is going to get something out of the world at school, whatever the case may be, versus what they could get at home.
Exactly.
And I think that makes all the difference. Some of us are lucky enough not to have any trauma around certain things, and some of us go through some traumatic experiences just because we are super clueless. But I know with that being said, this is pretty long, and yeah, that's sex for Cam and Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we probably could have done a part 2, like just broke this
If
up.
you want a part 2, we can.
Yeah, ask questions.
We can, yeah, or maybe we can do a Q&A about like.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Maybe a sex Q&A of like our experience within it, because it's kind of hard to cover every little thing.
Yeah.
And we do like to be transparent,
especially with postpartum.
Yeah, that
was a whole nother thing.
Whole situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so welcome. We back, season 2.
We're back.
Season 2, we here. Oh, and if you rock with me, then you rock with us. Again, let us know if you want the part 2 or if you want to do a Q&A, just to learn more about our experience around this particular topic.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all next time.
Let's go have sex.
No, seriously. Not just kidding.
My dad is going to look at this like, oh my God.
Hey, my bad in advance, dog.
Oh my God.
But you got a grandbaby already, so it's not any secret. But my bad.
Oh my God.